Hi, I'm Kylie. Thanks very much for joining me today. I'm going to be showing you in this video how to practice scales. This scale exercise is a combination of Taffanel and Gaubert's scale exercise number 4 from the 17 daily exercises, Exercice de jour 4, and also Michel Debost Scale Game, which is a compilation of many articulations. What I've gone ahead and done is modified this scale game so that you can play through all the articulations with all the scales and cover everything every day. I know there's only 24 scales, but what we're going to do is on B, any scale that starts on B, C, C sharp, or D, we play those also up the octave. So in the end, we play 32 scales daily. So in this video, I'm going to show you just the first 6 articulation patterns, and then I'll do about 6 each consecutive video because there are so many, I don't want to overwhelm you all at once, so we'll do it bit by bit. Okay, so the way we're going to practice these scale exercises is we're going to start on day 1 with C major, articulation number 1. Then we're going to play C major up the octave with articulation number 2. Then we'll move on to articulation number 3, playing A minor, and then we play articulation number 4 with F major. Then articulation number 5 is with D minor, and articulation number 6 is D minor up the octave, etc. So that's going to be our first day plan. The next day, we are going to start with C major up the octave with articulation number 1, A minor articulation number 2, etc. And then the third day, we start with A minor articulation number 1. This way, in 32 days, you'll play every single scale with every single articulation, and you'll be fluent, so fluent at every scale. It'll be amazing. Now, this title, the scale game, is awesome because it is actually a really fun way to practice scales. Yes, it's very challenging. Yes, we're going to be playing scales for 20 minutes a day, but and maybe a little bit longer at first. But by the end of many, many cycles of this, you're going to be a master at flute technique. And that's what's so exciting about this way of practicing scales. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to show you now articulation number 1 with C major. So articulation number 1 is all slurred. Now, what's so nice about this scale game that Michel Debost has created is that he's indicated a musical expression for each articulation. So we're not just playing all slurred, all tongued, double tongued, whatever. It's actually we're going to be playing the scales musically. And he's given us some examples of where these types of articulations occur in the repertoire. So we can dream ahead that say, oh yeah, I'm practicing this articulation pattern because I want to play this particular piece. So this first scale, we're going to play it all slurred. The expression marking for this is cantabile espressivo, okay? And the dynamic will play mezzo forte. And the tempo marking is suggested. At first, please start slowly for sure to make sure that you're always playing with very beautiful sound, even flute technique, clean finger technique, so there are no bloops in between the notes. So the tempo marking for this is to be comfortable and legato. So we're just going to basically be warming up our sound with this scale. So C major, articulation number 1. Okay, so I didn't do the modulation for this first articulation, for this C major, because we are going to be starting now C major up the octave for the next articulation. So the next articulation is articulation number 2. It is also all legato, but this time around we're going to be playing it forte and con brio, so with brilliance, with vigor, so a lot more energetic. So this third articulation is a legato tongue. We want to play all tongued but very, very smooth. So keep the airstream connecting every single note and the tongue just gently articulates each note. We'll be playing now A minor, and the dynamic will be mezzo forte, and it's supposed to be a nice, comfortable tempo. Okay, great. So now the next articulation, number 4, is single-tongued also, but this time we're going to play it very marcato and triple forte. This is a time where we're going to be expanding our dynamic range, going to the very, very edge of our dynamic level. How loud can you play? How aggressively can you play? It's rare that the flute is asked to play aggressively and short, but one great example of where this occurs in the repertoire is in Strauss's Ein Heldenleben, where the critics of Strauss are depicted in the music, and the flute starts out with this like really nasty, pecky, incessant kind of articulation, like that. So we want to make it ugly, we want to make it loud, we want to make it just nasty. So that's kind of fun. So we're going to do F major with this very loud, very articulated, short articulation. Now, for this, you need to really engage your diaphragm and lots of front articulation. Okay, so you might notice that I cracked some notes, and I think that's okay. I mean, we don't want to play cracking notes, but it's a sign that I'm really pushing the limit of my dynamic level. Now, if I were practicing this scale and I did crack a note, I would actually stop and redo that bar to make sure that I can actually make sure that my resonance space is open for that note and that I don't blow that hard till it cracks. I might have to come back a little bit on the airstream for that cracked note. So I cracked the high E, so I'm going to go ahead and practice that bar one more time. Okay, so I fixed that high E. All right, so now we go to D minor and the 5th articulation, which is also single-tongued. Who knew there were so many ways to tongue, eh? But anyhow, it's also single-tongued, but this time it is quick and mezzo piano and leggero, so light. And I like to imagine that it's like a little mouse scurrying across the floor, like as lightly as you can. Or maybe you want to imagine that it's a ballerina on the point and flitting across the stage very lightly and elegantly. So that's the kind of articulation we're trying to aim. So we're going to do D minor with articulation number 5. Okay, again, at the end of this scale, I just did the one octave up to end on the D up the octave because the next articulation we're starting on that D. I want to bring your attention to my correction. There was a moment where my sound wasn't as great, so I repeated that octave, that bar, to improve on my tone quality. So as you're practicing these scales, if there's something that doesn't go as well as you'd like, you can repeat that bar and improve on it, and that's what practicing is all about. Okay, and now for today, our last articulation will be number 6. We'll play D minor up the octave, and this will be single-tongued, but with a dotted 8th and 16th rhythm. And the goal of this is to make it sound very light, skipping like. We want to keep the dynamic about mezzo forte, and it should be playful and energetic. Now, we have to make sure that as we play, the tendency will be for the 16th note to get longer and lazier. So we have to make sure that really try to keep that 16th note tight to the next dotted 8th. So it's really a nice dotted rhythm and not a triplet rhythm. So here we go. Okay, great. So that's it for today. 6 articulations, 6 scales. The next video will go on to the next 6 articulations. If you like this video, please press on the like button below, and of course subscribe so you will be able to easily access all of the videos that I make. All right, thanks. Take care.